Right, how's it going, everyone? Welcome. It is deadline day. It is the most hectic time of year when it comes to football. Fourth window in a row, I think. I've done one of these streams too. So it's becoming a tradition now. I'm joined by a long-term viewer of the channel, Woods Pierce. How you doing, mate?
I'm great, man. Yeah.
Oh, Dave. Excellent. I'm glad we've got Dave in the house. Dave.
How are you, young scamps? Are you all right?
How you doing, mate?
Yeah,
Have
I'm good.
Have you met Woods before, Dave? Or have you seen
No, I'm
him?
not. How are you, Woods? All right, mate?
I'm all right. Yourself?
At my age, mate, a bit knackered trying to keep up with all these transfers and whatever. You know what I mean? Honestly,
Yeah.
I've been making notes as the day's gone on. I've just done a show with Dan Potts, and I've written down. So I'll just go through the names for you: Montiel, Santos, Turner, Aina, Alanga, Murillo, Tavares, Vlachodimos, Hudson-Odoi, Dominguez, Origi, Omobamidele, Sangare, and then I've crossed out Batshuayi and Ndidi, and I just need to like chill out with a couple of decent young lads talking football. Do you know what I mean? So
I've written notes as well, so we've both got an extensive list of players that we can talk about.
Yeah. The thing is though, lads, I've just been talking to guys from Manchester United, Newcastle, Liverpool, Arsenal, you name it, and it seems across the patch that the view of our transfer business is a pretty positive one. A West Ham guy who's a noted controversialist, shall we say, he sent me things saying really like the business that Forest have done. And I think, to all intents and purposes, it's good. I think what I like about it is that there are a lot, obviously, in terms of bodies, but we haven't actually spent all that much money.
No.
Although we may do between now and 11 o'clock if Ibrahim Sangare becomes a thing. And I'd really like that to become a thing because he looks, I mean, if we could get a player who's just qualified for the Champions League to come to us and give that up. Now, our recruitment team would deserve a gold medal for that. So, and then obviously the other name that I've written is Brennan. And as far as I'm concerned, I just want Brennan Johnson to do whatever Brennan Johnson wants to do, because I want that lad who's been amazing for us. I want him to be the happiest and most successful he can be in his life. That's what's important, So if Brennan goes to Tottenham, I'll be rooting for Brennan all the time. Maybe not against us, but very gently.
Do well every other game besides when he plays.
So and the thing about Brennan is, the money that we get for him is pure profit, because that's our academy doing good things, and it will help, I think, with the Sangare deal if that is to become reality. Absolutely. And also it helps with FFP. So I just think it was a quiet start. I mean, you say it was a quiet start, but the first three in with Turner, Ilanga, I think, was the first. Then Ola came in, and then Matty Turner came in. And it was a quiet start, but those three lads have already shown what good signings they are. I think, they're not at their peak yet, but there's good potential. And then, Murillo is 21, but he must have fallen asleep in a greenhouse because he's huge. Vlachodimos has come from Benfica, so that is a mark of quality. Callum Hudson-Odoi has got the connection, the World Cup under-17s with Steve, so I think that's a good thing. Like Morgan had. Dominguez swapping for Freuler, I think I think it's a good move for Remo. I think he'd be better suited by Italy than here. Dominguez can come in, he can talk Argentinian with Montiel. Santos is a good lad. I'm not sure how much game time Santos is going to get. He obviously won't feature tomorrow. But I think, like last year, we wanted Morgan. Morgan Gibbs-White was the bauble, that we really wanted. And I think it's got to the point now where Ibrahim Sangare will be the statement signing. And I've just been on a show with Arsenal, Manchester United, Crystal Palace, Liverpool, you name it, Newcastle, thinking they should be getting him, not us, because they're bigger, more, they have greater resources to kind of lure a guy like that. So I think if we may end up getting him, and sneaking him out from under the noses of more admiring, if you like, more capable suitors than we are. I think it would be an amazing signing, Sangare.
Absolutely.
I don't know. Did he play against Rangers the other night? Because I didn't see it.
Yeah, I think he did.
He
I think he scored in the
didn't he?
first leg, didn't he?
He scored the first leg, I believe. Just to interrupt, we've got 40 people in this. Thank you very much for that. I'll just say hello to everyone. Dave's done most work for me, actually. He's gone over everyone, which is great.
Typical me, mate.
We've got a jar of marmalade. That's a cool name. In the house. Kel, how you doing, Kel? Good to see you in here. How you doing, mate? James, I believe. That's James Laquan. JP. Yeah, good to see everyone in here. Rad Dad, of course. Evening Woods and Dave. And the other bloke. Oh, cheers for that.
Good old Steve.
Yeah. Kevin. Got lots of people in there. It's good to see. Well, we'll start with deadline day first and foremost. As I say, you've kind of mentioned everyone for me there, Dave, which is good.
Sorry, mate.
No, it's all good. No problem. We'll talk about them in a bit more depth if we wish. So, obviously, in the last day, we've announced Murillo and Tavares, Dominguez, Hudson-Odoi. It's all been a bit crazy, hasn't it? It was going very slowly.
Yeah.
How do you think they all fit in? I'll go to Woods first, and then Dave, you can say your piece if you want.
Well, I think it all depends on how Cooper wants us to set up, because you think with the Sangare deal, if that does go through and Johnson does leave, that opens up the possibility of us possibly playing a 4-2-3-1. Which could open up having both Elanga and Hudson-Odoi out wide and having Gibbs-White and Taiwo.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Dominguez, I've not really watched a lot of Italian football, so I wouldn't have. But from what I've seen off clips and whatever, he seems like quite a decent player. So,
yeah, he does. I think it's a fair deal as well, swapping him for Freuler, who, he had some good moments, but overall, I don't think he fully suited what we're all about with Remo.
Didn't do enough, really. And Woods' point is bang on. I think what Steve wants to do, if you think about it, we came up, we tried to play the way that we had done in the Championship. It left us far too open. We got picked off. We got taught some harsh lessons. And then what he did in order to kind of keep us up, he swallowed something that didn't taste very nice, and he made us play in a way that he didn't want us to play, but it kept us up. It was a needs must. I think what he wants us to do now to progress just that little bit further on from last season and just that little bit further up the table is for us to now play a little bit more. Hey, let's have a bit more fun. We've been solid to try and stay in matches, and I think Sangare, if that, like I say, it's not official on the website yet, and I don't believe all these rumor mongers. As you know, I'm sick of people making a living out of basically gossiping. But I think if Sangare comes, and I think the idea then is to have a back four, and then be a little bit more front foot proactive further up the field to get in and around Taiwo. I mean, Taiwo's doing an amazing job. And just on the subject of him, we're a year on, 13 months on from signing Taiwo, and we paid 17 million at the time, which I think was the biggest fee we'd ever paid for anybody. And boy, is that looking a good deal now. That's looking, if Taiwo goes from us, I mean, I can imagine actually somebody coming in for Taiwo in January, somebody like Manchester United, who had it shown to them last week what they're missing, right?
Yeah.
And I think, and what I also think is there's a lot of teams around us in our portion of the table, Fulham, Sheffield United, Wolves, Luton, who else? Burnley, Everton.
Yeah.
These teams that are going to be in and around our region. I think we're the only one of that lot that's got a reliable goal scorer. If we can keep him fit,
I agree.
I think Taiwo gives us just that little bit of difference from everybody else because of what he can do and what he has been doing. Just, I'm not a religious man, but if I were, I'd be praying for Taiwo to stay fit, right? So I think it'd be nice for Taiwo to play and think that he's not just hitting on the counter all the time, which he's so good at, but to have Morgan up with him and Morgan doing Morgan things, because Morgan's a baller, to use the modern idiom. And then, Anthony one side with his pace because he's so quick, Callum the other, and then mixing and matching, right? So I think the Sangare deal would be a statement of intent to play a bit more, not sort of, I call it rope-a-dope. Before you lads were born, Ali beat Foreman in the Rumble in the Jungle. And Ali basically hit George in the first round, and then he went on the ropes and he soaked it up for 8 rounds before George was knackered and he knocked him out. And I think what Forrest had been doing is sitting back, soaking it up, and then hoping to hit on the counter. Right now, it's been relatively successful. Look at the goal at Old Trafford in the first minute. That came from a United corner. And with Brennan's pace, we've been able to do that. Now we can do it with Anthony's, maybe Callum's, and Taiwo's. So, but I think what Steve wants to do, I think he wants us to be a team that has more possession and becomes not just a gritty, stoic team. He wants us to kind of I think what he wants and what I'd like is for supporters of other clubs to say, by gum, don't Forest play some good football, to get to that Brighton, Villa, Newcastle echelon. That's a long way away. Yeah. It's unrealistic. And, I think we have to stay in this division and grit our teeth for another couple of seasons, like Brighton did. Brighton are the classic example. They came up, they finished 16th, 17th and 15th in their first 3 years, right? And I think that's what Forest have to do. They have to establish a platform upon which they can build. So I think, the Sangare thing, if that's done, I'll be ecstatic about it. But I've looked at, Murillo excites me because he's such a young lad. He's huge. He's kind of Felipe size, but he obviously isn't as beautiful as Felipe because that's the most beautiful man that ever lived, right? Tavares, nobody's expecting much there. The Arsenal people have just said they think he's chaotic. So that could work out all right. What is going to be interesting, and I'm not even going to attempt it now because I'm too tired from keeping up with all that's gone on the last few weeks, is when Steve Cooper has to sit down with Tatey and Andy Reid and, Jamie and whatever else, and they have to say, right, let's get 25, because that's going to be difficult.
There's going to be some names missing out that I don't think we would have expected, like check your auto potentially, someone like that, with the amount of midfielders coming in. And this is something I was going to ask you all about. You would have been touching on Sangare, with Sangare and Dominguez coming in, and potentially, obviously we already signed Santos. Like, how does that midfield work now? Like, there's going to be someone that's going to have to come out that you wouldn't really expect to have had to be dropped at the start of the season.
Maybe Mangala.
Yeah.
The thing is now, our midfield at the end of last season, I thought had a lovely feel to it. Danny, Mangala and Ryan, it just felt right. Eventually it felt right, But the thing is now, if Sangare comes, he's kind of going to be the top dog in there, the base, the midfield base. And then if obviously Steve wants to play another attacker, then it's, for me at the moment, it's probably Yatesy, because Yatesy covers so much ground and gets in everywhere. I'd hate to play against Ryan because he's such a nuisance. I'm so glad he's out. I absolutely adore him. But I like what Orel does. Orel's good at keeping the ball. Cheku, I like Cheku, but I think he's going to struggle to get in the side.
He is.
He might just sneak into the 25. The other night against Burnley, which was an awful game of football, probably the worst game of football at the City Ground for a long, long time. And Burnley weren't great. It had 0-0 and penalties written all over it. I thought Cheku was on a yellow, and then he was taken off because he was on a yellow. I think he was edging towards another red, which, given what happened so unfairly to Joe on Saturday, Steve didn't want that. So I think Cheku's going to struggle. Nico, I think Nico will always have a part to play. I'm rambling into names now. The thing is, there's so many. What I'd like us to kind of get it down to a slim line, 25. That's Harry Arter shouldn't still be here. Lyle should be going and playing football somewhere. There's others, fair play to Jack and Cookie. They went and got some football. Jonathan Panzo's gone and got himself some football. Luce O'Brien, who I really like, has gone and got himself some football. These lads need to go and get that. And I want Steve to have that group and not too much peripheral stuff. But unfortunately, it just seems it seems like it's a constantly moving feast at Forest. We need to settle down, have a settled squad, and then a settled 11 that you can rely on.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Woods, what's your take on the midfield? How do you see it all working?
Honestly, I genuinely can't think, because there's so many midfield options that we can have. Like you said, you got Mangala, Yates, Danilo, Santos, Sangare possibly.
Yeah.
And, they're all players who, realistically, in any other year before this, you'd say, all right, you're starting.
Yeah.
But now I'd hate to be Cooper. I said it last season, I'll say it this season. Cooper's options are just so wide because of how much squad depth we've got. And, you can't really think of dropping one player and then who could be so vital for us. So,
yeah, in every area of the team. I mean, to think 2 years ago that Scott McKenna would be struggling to get in the side, I think that tells you how far we've come. I mean, that promotion year, he was just immense. I thought this guy is a Forest, fortress on his own. And I mean, poor old Scott, he's been unlucky with injuries. I think he'll have a part to play, and I think Steve has got the highest regard for him. But and Joe is now back bang fighting for his place as well, like Moose is. I mean, if you like, the one who's kind of throwing the cat among the pigeons at the back is Willie, because Willie's been excellent. I mean, Willie came in and everybody kind of shrugged their shoulders and it's only Willie Bully from Wolves, and yet Willie, I'm telling you, at Old Trafford on Saturday, Willie was after Bruno Fernandes, who was the best player on the field and the reason that United won the match. Willie Bully was by far Forest's best player. I thought he was magnificent. Matty Turner had a good game, made some good saves. Ola Aina against Marcus Rashford played well. Ryan put himself about as Ryan does. But Willie, I thought Willie was absolutely magnificent. He scored a goal. He made tackles. He read the game. He's completely unflappable. And, Willie came in as a sort of a backup. Willie's getting to the point where he might almost be the one. But then, Mr. Beautiful was back on the pitch warming up on Wednesday night. And Mr. Beautiful, I mean, just for the ladies in Nottingham, he has to be back in the team because I'm sure he's sending the fertility rate up. How magnificent was he at the end of last season? Felipe. So, I mean, I think when Felipe's fit, I think Felipe will be the first name at the back. But the thing is, what Forest is getting to the point of, as Woods has alluded to, is this idea that we can play a 3 or we can play a 2. And I think Sangare will allow greater flexibility in that. That's where I'm coming from, I think. I tell you the other name, I might not. I mean, I would love Divock Origi. I really would.
I was going to mention him, yeah. We can talk about him now, though, if you want. So, obviously, we did need a striker. To support Tyro. But I do agree. I think Divock Origi is just... I don't think it necessarily dislodged Tyro at all, but it could be a very good option. As good as Chris Wood has been in recent games, and I'm glad that he is showing that. And it looks like Hwang's going to be going to Norwich apparently on loan. I've seen.
Good for him. He's a good lad.
Yeah, he's a good player, but he's not quite going to get into our team.
No, true.
But how do both of you think Divock Origi will fit into Forest? You already said it's a good signing. I agree. I think it is. So, would you go first? What do you think?
Well, I mean, we've all saw the moments that Divock Origi has had for other clubs. I mean, you just have to go look at the Liverpool-Barcelona game to show how much of an impact he had there.
Yeah, Mersey derby.
Yeah. And he's widely loved by Liverpool fans as well. I mean, you go and ask any Liverpool fan what their opinion is on Divock Origi, they'll have nothing but good things to say.
Yeah, true.
I remember, they were quite sad when he left Liverpool.
Yeah, I mean, if you think Woods is bang on, his highlight reel from Liverpool alone. I mean, the Barcelona game, which is one of the greatest football matches ever played. the Merseyside derby when he came on and he took advantage of a muff by Jordan Pickford in injury time at Anfield at the Kop end, right? Yeah. And then he scored in a Champions League final against Tottenham. And I think, you know, Divock Origi's curse at Liverpool was the fact that he had an unbelievable trio of players in front of him in Mo, Sadio and Bobby Firmino. That's an amazing trio of strikers. And so he was unlucky. I mean, personally, with Divock Origi, I was like, when his name cropped up out of the ether today, I was like, he's not going to come to us. And that's my view. Where I get off is I don't want anybody at Forest to be as conceited as fans of certain other clubs are. I mean, I've had certain fans of other clubs today. Oh, he's not good enough for us. You know, talking about Brennan Johnson. Oh, he's not good enough for us. We don't want him. And why are we signing a player from a team out of the other 14? We should be signing players from. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry, but Tottenham finished 8th. You know what I mean? Get real. You're a mid-table side. I said, your manager dropped down from a Champions League group stage team in Celtic to come and manage you. You should be. Ange Postecoglou is too good for Tottenham, right? So you'd be thankful for getting him. And I love Ange. Ange's nails. He's calm. If you shot Ange Postecoglou in the face, he wouldn't notice. He'd just carry on. He's harder than he's the hard man Tottenham have needed. Ange's right. And so they were saying about Brennan, you know. So I kind of think, Sangare, Champions League, he won't come to us. We might get him. Divock Origi. My view on Divock Origi was that he would arrive in England and he'd drive straight to Burnley to hook up with his fellow Belgian. That's what I thought about Divock Origi. I thought he'll get in his car and he'll go, yeah, Nottingham looks lovely, lovely bridge, Trent Bridge, Meadow Lane, Nottingham Forest, whatever else, lovely city. But he'd drive to Burnley to be with his big mate Vincent Kompany. So again, if by 11 o'clock Divock Origi's in, give our recruitment team, who are whooping Manchester United, Tottenham Hotspur and Arsenal in the transfer business match, right? Give them a gold medal, because I think Divock Origi as a backup to Taiwo is a fantastic option. And then you've got Woody. Now, I mean, Woody makes me laugh because I don't know if you two lads were probably in the City Ground against Sheffield United a week ago tonight. Probably around about now. And he ran onto the field and there were people around me. Whoa, what's he brought him on for? He's crap. Get him off. He's rubbish. Chris Woods can't do anything. This, that and the other. And 10 minutes later, those hypocrites were kissing his bottom because he scored a fantastic goal. And he got us the most important 3 points on offer for us so far this season, right? So Woody, I think Woody has really worked on his fitness. And I think Woody is another good option. And I think Chris Wood is a leader in the dressing room. I think he's a bloke who talks to the other guys. Steve will say to him, Woody, what do you think? You know what I mean? So I think, I mean, you know, scoring our transfer window, last year I thought it was a 5 or a 6 because it was too scattergun, we were cluster bombing, hoping to hit targets. I think this year, I think we're edging towards an 8, maybe an 8.5. You know, the truth of the matter is, though, the decency, the success of the window or otherwise will only become apparent in the fullness of time. The window last year was a good one because what we got in that window kept us up. So only on the last day of the season will we be able to say that was a good window. This window, we'll see maybe by December, and then we can have another look again, you know, at Burnley on the last day of the season, and then we'll know. But the general consensus from other people, other clubs is, yeah, Forest have done some good business there. There's less mockery of what Forest are doing this year. You know, so Origi and Sangare by 11 o'clock. And I would say, excellent. I'd be knocking on the recruitment department's door and saying, good job, fellas. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I do think, actually, speaking of the recruitment team, I do think George Siminos coming back has played his part.
Yeah, absolutely, you know, David,
because we've seen when he was with us, well, quite a while actually. The business was quite similar to this. It was quite fast moving. So it's only got a lot more ambitious as we've gone into the Premier League.
David, that's a great.
Not to slag off Ross Wilson, but I just feel he's played his part to speed things up.
I think what happened was it was tootling along. So it was Anthony Elanga, and then it was Matty Turner and Ola Aina. They were the first three, and I think they've all been decent signings.
Yeah.
And they were like, Ross Wilson, I think, was just feeling his way into the club because, he's new as well. Like a lot of the backroom stuff. We've got new medical people in, which is good. The guy from Chelsea's come in, and we had too many injuries last year, which made it even more of a miracle that we stayed up, in my view. So, but I think what happened was when George, is it Spirios? Is that how you say his name, David?
George Syrinos, I think.
Syrinos. Well, when he came in, it's almost like he came in and he walked into the room and all the papers lifted off the desk because he came in like a whirlwind. And then all of a sudden, it just took off. And I bet this George Syrinos, he's been running around like a blue arse fly all day, I'll bet you. Ringing this club, ringing that club. Oh, he's at AC Milan about Divock. Oh, he's at PSV, and he's that, whoever else. So it just seems to have gathered momentum with his input, really.
Yeah. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce this guy's name, but we've not spoken about him yet. So
Omobamidele.
That's one of them. I'm going to talk about the goalkeeper that we're linked with.
Vlachodimos.
In fact, I'll use my very flashy graphic.
David, that's so cool. Odysseus. Yeah. What a great name. Right?
It's great. It's a great graphic. But even better player, hopefully. What do you think of this guy first? Because it appears like it's quite an important signing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we've all seen how well Matt Turner's done so far. I mean, I think at the moment he's been a lot better than what we probably could have had. I mean, Dean Henderson, obviously, we love him for what he's done for the club. That cup run, the penalties against Wolves. But from what people have said from like Benfica and Greek fans is this Vlachodimos, or obviously his name, is going to be a step above, apparently, from what they've said. So they said he'll easily make us forget the Dean Henderson deal. And, and I feel like with Matt Turner, he's obviously going to need competition. And I feel like Vlachodimos isn't going to come here to be number 2 the whole time. So.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
What do you think, Dave?
Well, I remember doing a show around about when the transfer window opened, and I said at the time my priority was a goalkeeper because obviously Kayla had gone, and I wanted Dean Henderson because Dean Henderson was part of the family. I mean, his attitude, he did great things for us on the field. Dean, he's a great character, strong personality. His behaviour when he was injured towards the end of last season was absolutely brilliant. I remember at Palace last day of the season, the Arsenal game at home, and Dean, there was footage of Dean sat in the crowd asking around, how long to go? Like, that guy plays for Manchester United. No, he doesn't. He's a Forest player. You know what I mean? I would have loved Dean to have come back. I think what happened there was that Forest fell foul of probably the worst transfer department in the Premier League, Manchester United. Absolutely. They're awful. They are dreadful. I mean, I've just spoke to a brilliant Manchester United fan who I've got so much time for, a very intelligent Manchester United fan, and he's livid. He's livid that they're signing Johnny Evans and that Reguilon's coming in, and they're like, the goalkeeper they've signed. I mean, it's just a shambles. We got let down by Manchester United over Dean Henderson. You know what I mean? And
James Garner as well last year.
It's not
James Garner, exactly, David. It's exactly the same process that went on last year, and it's not a good process. He doesn't do Manchester United. No. It does Manchester United no credit whatsoever. Absolutely no credit whatsoever. So I think where we I would have liked Jimmy to come back, and I think Jimmy would have been happy with us than he is at Everton. Although, to be fair to Jimmy, he's now playing for Everton. He's getting game time. He is doing okay. Actually, he's becoming one. Yeah. On a side note with Everton, they've lost 3 games, but they have now created a lot of chances. Certainly at Goodison, so if they get this Beto going, Everton could be better, right? But the Dean Henderson situation between, Manchester United have been a shambles. So I would have loved Dean. As it is, I'm really happy with Matty. I think Matty's kicking could be a bit better. That's the only quibble I've got with Matty as a goalkeeper and as a person. Seems great. Vlachodimos is coming from Benfica. You don't go to Benfica if you're a duffer.
Yeah.
Right. He'll be a good player at Benfica. And then if you think about it, not only have we got the USA number 1, we've got the USA number 2. So and Ethan, right? I'm really surprised Luton didn't want him. But then again, maybe that tells you about Ethan, that Luton didn't want him. Then you've got Wayne. And Wayne's an international goalkeeper. And Wayne's back fully fit. I saw Wayne training earlier in the week, the day before the Burnley match. And then George Shelvey is a good lad. George Shelvey is going to be a good goalkeeper. I mean, George played in pre-season. And he made
quite a lot.
In a not great pre-season. George Shelvey had more to do than he really should have. And he made some good saves. There was one unbelievable save in Frankfurt. You know, I'd like George to go and get a really good loan, either at a League One or a Championship club. And I think George Shelvey is going to be a really, really good goalkeeper for us, or for somebody at some point. So, you know, we've got 5 goalkeepers, if you like. And you need, the thing is, though, the holy grail for Premier League teams at any level, from City down to everybody else, is depth, squad depth. Arsenal lost the title to City because they didn't have the depth that City have got. Do you know? Now Newcastle need depth to play Champions League. Brighton need depth, and Villa need depth because they're in Europe. Liverpool need depth because they're taking on Europe. Do you know what I mean? Chelsea are adding depth because they foresee maybe being back in Europe at the end of this season. Tottenham the same. You know, Tottenham need depth because Tottenham just need to find an identity, which I think they are doing. Take out Wednesday night. Tottenham have been good to watch these last 2 or 3 games. And so for us, we need that. I mean, and I think what happened with us was that we were burned last year so badly by that injury list. You know, I mean, the lowest point of which was at Craven Cottage, when both Scotty and Willie had the same injury at the exact same moment, chasing Andreas Pereira. I mean, I was in the Putney end with my mate, with Malcolm Owen, the great Malcolm Owen. And he said to me, McKenna's injured. And I'm going, no, he's not. It's Willie Bolly's injured. And Malcolm went, no, look further down the field. And like, Willie was over here, Scott was over here. The pair of them have both gone down, both done hamstrings in the 7th minute, you know, which then...
Unbelievable, really.
Then what happened was then Felipe came on and basically dealt with Mitrovic brilliantly. We're like, blimey, how good's this guy with the ponytail? You know what I mean? And Joe came on.
It was his debut, wasn't it?
Well as well. Say again, mate?
It was his debut, wasn't it, Felipe?
It was, yeah. I think Felipe had come in January, and he wasn't. I don't think he was expecting to play very much. And then he got thrown into the fray, and then he just, you know, he became a fan favourite, a firm fan favourite. You know, so we've got depth at the back, we've got depth in midfield. I just think Origi as another forward, you know, and probably actually, if you think about it, the role he fulfilled at Liverpool, where he was backup to these world-class strikers, but then added his own input and gained his own reputation. You know, say we lose Taiwo, and heaven forbid that we lose Taiwo, because I think he's so important to us. He's a focus for the team now. We've got, you know, we've got a gun barrel that we can shoot bullets with Taiwo. But if Taiwo has a knock, and sometimes the way Taiwo plays, he's going to pick up a knock. He's quick and he's physical and all that. Then Divock Origi is another option to Woody. I mean, the other night against Burnley, I mean, Woody. I mean, nobody played well in that game. Nobody from Burnley played well. Nobody from Forest played well. It was an awful football match. It should have gone on for hours and hours until they all died of boredom. Right? It was a dreadful match. But Chris Wood put himself about. He just got no service. Now, Chris Wood that night with some good service, I think he would have done okay. I don't think Woody's a starter. Taiwo's clearly the starter. He's earned that position. But to have 3 centre forwards is better than one who you kind of would worry about getting injured, really. So, you know, we seem to have depth. I mean, Tavares is now fullback depth with Ola, Nico, Serge, Gonzalo Montiel. You know what I mean? So I look. I mean, the thought is, lads, when you come down to it, 2 and a bit years ago, we were bottom of the Championship, and we were thinking of buying. Oh, let's go get Jerry Yates from Blackpool. Oh, let's go and get Joe Pygott from Wimbledon.
Literally.
And now we've signed the bloke who won the World Cup for Messi and Argentina. Right now, I can't get my head around it. Gonzalo Montiel, at the end of the greatest World Cup final of all time, walked from the halfway line to take a penalty with Messi's fairy tale and all of Argentina, imagine that, on his shoulders, and he stuck it away past a bloke who'd won the World Cup previously, Hugo Lloris. So he's a small man, Montiel, but God, he's got big cojones, mate. I'm telling you. So we've got him in. We're getting like a guy who's won a Champions League, maybe Origi. We've got a guy coming from PSV. I mean, the progression of Nottingham Forest over 2 years is just
unbelievable.
It's like the Twilight Zone. It's like a sci-fi movie. You know what I mean? It's bizarre, but it's brilliant, and it's so exciting. You know what I
mean? Yeah. Well, we'll talk more about some of those in just a moment. But people are saying in the comments, and you briefly mentioned it, we have got another here we go from Fabrizio Romano that I don't think anyone expected, and I'll get it up on screen right now. It is Andrew Omobamidele. I believe that's how you say it.
Omobamidele.
Yeah. What does everyone think to this? Because I did not see this one coming. Would you say your piece, mate?
Well, the lad's young, so automatically the last two centre-backs were brought in, Murillo and Omobamidele, two people for the future, two people who do a very good job now as well, very quick. Omobamidele has done quite well for Norwich as well. I'm friends with a Norwich fan, and he said they've had quite a few teams sniffing the bat for him. So,
what makes me so curious about this is I think it's a really good signing. Like, he's a good young player. He's played a lot of games for his age. I think he's played for Ireland senior team as well.
Ireland international.
He's a young player, and he's captain Norwich as well in the Championship. I just don't. What do you guys think about how he and all the others fit in with Murillo coming in? Like, what does this mean for Scott McKenna and Joe Ward and Willy Bolly? Like, could you see any of these guys getting pushed down the pecking order?
Maybe, but any one of them could get pushed down the pecking order because now there's just really good, healthy competition. That healthy, progressive, forward-moving football clubs need that internal competition. So Scott's going to have to kind of say, right, I'm getting stuck in now. Joe's going to have to say, I'm going to get stuck in now. You know what I mean? Willie, Felipe, none of them now can rest on their laurels because, you had Murillo, you had Omobamidele to it. These are guys like Omobamidele be like, wow, I could be going to a Premier League club. That's going to really fire him. Murillo's come from Corinthians, a young lad, a big young lad. He's a unit, that guy. And you imagine he could play at one point. You could have like Willy Bolly is a giant, Murillo is a giant, Felipe is a big lad, and Sangare. I mean, that is a core of real physicality. You know what I mean? And you see, for example, Luton are a smallish club with a smallish stadium, but they've got some big lads in their team, Luton now. And so, when we come to play Luton in October, we'll need physicality to deal with Luton. So I don't think Luton are all that bad. I honestly don't. But what I do notice is with like the Omobamidele, let me get it right, and Callum Hudson-Odoi and Ola Aina and Anthony Elanga, people like that. It's young guys coming in who I think Forest can take in at a certain level of outlay. And then the idea is then, as was the case with Brennan, and Brennan is going, I'm pretty sure, as will be the case with Tyro, as will be the case with Morgan, you get these players in for a certain level. To quote Cloughie, you pop a little bit of manure on them and up pop flowers, right? And they'll sell them on for more than we bought them. That's how Brighton have progressed. That's how Aston Villa have progressed. That's what Brentford have done so brilliantly. Those big guns at the top, the multinationals, we can't relate to them, but we can relate to what these other clubs have done. And that's the kind of area I think Forest, the 3-year plan or the 5-year plan, whatever it is, Forest see themselves as being at that echelon. I mean, hell's teeth. If Crystal Palace can stay in this league generally pretty comfortably for 10 years, why not Nottingham Forest with our resources and our fan base and all this kind of stuff? So I think that there's been way more thought applied to the transfer business this year than was last year. I mean, last year started off, I think me and you were on a show, David, with Dora, and we both agreed that like the start of it was like, oh, that's pretty shrewd, that's pretty astute. There's obviously some methodology at work, and then it just went doolally because they were signing everybody. You know, Jesse being the one I think that just upset everybody's apple
made
cart.
everything go.
I think
mad.
Yeah, I think this year, I mean, okay, everything's been kind of left. You know, it's like they're cramming for an exam tomorrow morning by getting it all done now. But I do think there's been a bit more logic applied, and I don't. There isn't a signing where maybe Tavares, based on what he did in that cup match for Arsenal when he got hooked after half an hour at the City Ground because Brennan was basically turning him inside out, murdering him. People would go, well, that Tavares isn't very good. But, you know, he's been at Arsenal, so you don't become a duffer if you go to Arsenal. Now, that's probably the least exciting of all the signings. But the others, I think they're all like, yeah, that's pretty sound. Nothing that's going to, I mean, Sangare would blow my socks off. Origi would blow my socks off. But the others, even if we don't get those, the others that we've signed, I think are pretty good. But it seems to me that they've really set their heart on Sangare, and the Fabrizio Romano, because that's what I call him, is saying that Ibrahim Sangare is at the Doughty, not far from where you two live, and about an hour from where I live, having a medical now. You know, it's just,
it's something I didn't expect to happen, but like you say, big deal. It only takes an already good midfield, at least on the starting front, to a new level, really.
Absolutely.
So it is going to be both fascinating to see how it all works. I want to bring up a comment that Kel's just made earlier about Origi, just confirming that it would be a loan from AC Milan. With the option to buy. Apparently, Forest very, very willing to pay the fee, around about 5 million euros, which is nothing.
That is a very good deal. Because you think he's still only 28.
Yeah,
so
he's a great striker,
and all that experience he's got. I mean, that's relatively speaking, lads. That's chicken feed. That is
these days. Yeah,
I mean, look. In the last two signings, you've got Hudson-Odoi for £5 million and Origi for €5 million. That's incredible. Next to nothing for two
we got
players.
Hudson-Odoi for that little. It's. I don't know how I've done that.
And if you think about it, what is it these days that Brighton and Hove Albion are known for? Brighton and Hove Albion, you almost like when a guy plays in the 11 for Brighton and Hove Albion, as a Gindra did against Luton on the opening day. Never heard of him, but if he's in Brighton's team and you've never heard of him, you know he's good, and he was brilliant. Like Buonanotte at our place when we won 3-1. What a great start he had. And Ciso scored the goal of the season. We'd never heard of him like 10 minutes before that goal. And I would. This is where maybe Forest. I mean, I'd be a cheeky bugger. If I was a Forest, Forest chief exec or whatever, I'd be ringing Brighton Hove Albion up saying, "Hey, Mr. Bloom and your staff, what are you doing so well there? What can we learn from you?" I mean, in the NFL, a team in the NFL, like the Chiefs are the champions, aren't they? But I bet you other coaches from other teams are ringing Andy Reid at the Chiefs up and saying, well, what was it that you're doing offensively and defensively? And they nick ideas. And the idea that Forest are now picking these guys up for like relatively cheap amounts, there's a strategy there and a structure that Nottingham Forest have not had probably for nearly 25 years, right? Because those 20 odd years in the Championship and League One as well, the transfer business of Nottingham Forest was an absolute standing joke. It's an embarrassment. This, to me, I'm looking at the names again. I have to look at the names to kind of, convince myself that actually this is pretty decent business. Although the fullness of time will tell us. And you just think there's something pretty decent about all of that. You know what I mean?
Well, I remember like in 2016 or something, we had a transfer embargo and we can only sign players for free and on loan.
Yeah.
And
yes, David,
we were signing like the most random average players for Championship level, and scraping relegation survival in the Championship, and now just to think like I always find it quite emotional when it comes to Joe Wall, like he was in that team, and now he's
I
still
love Joe.
here.
I mean,
He's seen so many players come and go. You see where we are now.
Yeah. Well, a lot of football clubs, especially these days, are revolving doors. Like when I was like your age, you two, before you were born, you could generally recite starting 11s in those days, first division clubs, and they very rarely change from season to season, and you get clubs who would make one big signing. I remember when in the late 70s, Kevin Keegan went to Hamburg and Liverpool went and got Kenny Dalglish. Now that was a big thing. Trevor Francis coming to us was a huge thing. I mean, that was a history maker, an epoch maker. That. So these days, the attrition and the turnover of players is unbelievable. So, but I just think where we are now is just like, and I tell you what's good as well. You two lads are. I mean, what are you, David? You're in your 20s. What are you, Woods? How old are you, Woods?
19.
19, mate. Yeah. What are you, David?
22.
22.
Yeah.
Now, you lads, I think what's brilliant for me I'm 60 next March, right? Is that you two lads now have got something you can be really proud of about Nottingham Forest, right? You can say to your mates, we've got Taiwo Awoniyi, we've got Morgan Gibbs-White, who's just basically won the Euro under 21s, right? We've got these kind of fantastic players coming into our club. You can carry yourselves now as supporters of a Premier League club. Now, for kids of your age, for like the early part of your lives, you were going to school, you lads, and there'd be lads in your school who support United, City, Liverpool, Chelsea, and they were all bragging because they won something, and you lads have got nothing to say. Now, you can be really proud of supporting Nottingham Forest, and I mean, I'm like a big kid, I get it, but I think for young lads and the young girls and everybody that follows Forest, the younger generation, this is something they must cherish and savour every minute. So every signing, every win, every goal, every visit to another stadium, it's just fantastic. Surreal. And this transfer window is kind of, the icing on the cake. You know what I mean? The thing now is,
it is.
As you lads have said, right, Steve, you're the gaffer. Over to you. Start moving the pieces about. And I think he will. I think he's brilliant. I mean, there are people who've wanted him out and all that kind of stuff, but I don't subscribe to that. I mean, I'll tell you what he is. I don't know if you lads watch the pre-match press conferences, right? I think they're hilarious because never has a manager said so much by saying absolutely nothing. Every question that he gets is a loaded one, and he kind of like, right, well, who's injured this week? Oh, I don't know. I think Taiwo won't be fit this week. He's incredible
at it.
And Scott McKenna's going to be out for. I don't think we'll see him again until 2042 and all that. And then, I mean, Morgan against Leeds last season when we beat Leeds, hung on to beat Leeds 1-0, and Morgan might be fit for the weekend. And all of a sudden, there he was out on the pitch. There, oh look, there's Morgan. I thought he was dead. You know what I mean? And Steve is, and like this week, right? It's been all questions about Brennan, right? And obviously, the Brennan thing is a huge thing because Brennan he's part of our family. He's like my nephew. For you lads, he's kind of like a brother. He's the same age group as you. You can identify with Brennan. He's representing you lads on the field. So to see him go, it's like, for me, it's like, oh, I don't want him to go. I love him. I think he's wonderful. His pace, his skill, his goal scoring. But he's got to do what's right for his life. That's the most important. Brennan's life as a human being is more important than a football club. And he's got to go and do that. So, it's just, I think it's fantastic to support Forest at the moment. We've had so many years of utter nothingness, some horrific humiliations, some dreadful managers. Here we are with this guy who's like the best in the business at dealing with a loaded question. So Brennan Johnson this week, well, I don't really know. I leave that to the backroom staff. Brennan Johnson, and he just, it's something. I tell you what, Steve Cooper is like a metaphorical goalkeeper because they're firing these balls out and he's pushing everyone over the bar or pushing them around the post. He's magnificent, Steve, I think. And I tell you what as well, he's really good when he loses his temper because he wasn't happy on Wednesday night, was he? I don't know if you lads listened to him.
No, I saw
he
that,
was serious. He said, that is not what I expect. And I tell you what, we're going to Stamford Bridge tomorrow and I'm going to have to get off in a minute because I need to go to bed early because I've got to get up. They'll be going there with a boot up their backsides and a flea in their ear because that Wednesday night, a bit like, do you remember Blackpool in the Cup in January?
Oh God!
Don't mention that.
Yeah.
That's awful.
Now we lost at Blackpool, didn't we? And the reserves fluffed their lines, all of them, probably bar Scarpa, who was not too bad. But dear Scarpa, bless him, lovely lad, but I don't think he's been up to this level, right? And it was horrendous, and he was really, really angry. And then the next game was home to Leicester, and we beat Leicester, and we played some good football. So I'm hoping.
Yeah,
I don't think we'll win. I don't think we'll win tomorrow, because I think Chelsea have just got better quality players than we have. But I think we'll give them a game. You know, I think we'll have a narrow defeat tomorrow, and then we can think of. I think what we'll do, we'll beat Burnley because we lost to them on Wednesday night. I think the team that won on Wednesday night was going to lose the league game. If we'd won on Wednesday night, I'd be worried about the league game. But I think we'll beat Burnley.
Yeah,
and then we're into, like, we go and take our medicine at City, you know, and then we're into some stuff that, like, you know, Brentford, Palace, Luton. Those are the next three before we go to Liverpool. You know, so it's we'll see how we get on. You know, but Nottingham Forest now is a million miles away from the Nottingham Forest of even 3 years ago.
Unbelievable.
I mean? Absolutely.
I mean, just to mention now, like we've all been saying, how these new lads going to fit in. We've signed a lot of players, and you know we're bringing in this Norwich guy. How are we going to fit him in? But I think Forest are just like thinking, well, we had so many injuries last season, so
yes, Dave.
I don't think anyone is necessarily like completely ruled out. Like if that was to happen again, which I really hope it doesn't. For our sake, we have got players that can come in and not only just be like fill-ins, but be quality.
Yeah.
You know, if someone like Mangala is pushed out of it, which seems harsh on his part, we've got someone good to come in, which is really big for us, really. You know, we've already mentioned Brennan a little bit. It was pretty sad seeing the here we go from Fabrizio and all that. But I mean, Woods, I've already spoken to you a little bit about this throughout the day. Woods, what do you think about Brennan going to Spurs? Obviously, we're getting a lot of money for him. We've got Hudson-Odoi that can potentially replace him, Anthony Elanga that could play on that side as well. Like, obviously, Divock Origi as well, potentially coming in. Like, do you think that's significant? Do you think that's good enough to replace Brennan Johnson?
We're never really gonna be able to replace Jono. I think him himself, you know, he was born in Nottingham, you know, dad's David Johnson, Forest player, you know, he's brought up through Forest. So you're never going to find that sort of player again on the market currently. Like,
no, I agree.
Elanga's done brilliantly when he's come on. You know, Hudson-Odoi has got a lot of promise. You know, if he can stay fit, then he can do well. But just Brennan himself, he fired us into the promotion places.
He did.
Like,
he did.
What did he get? Like 12 goals, 8 assists that year.
Incredible.
He scored in so many games. You know, he come back. You know, he made us together. You know, he'd always be that outlet. You know, you had him and Keenan Davis up top.
Yeah.
Amazing.
You know, it's just I'm watching Deadline Day now, and they're talking about him, and he's saying he's still having his medical.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully it goes over to 11 o'clock, and suddenly he can't sign for Spurs, and he's still out of players. That'd be pretty funny, but very useful for us. You carry on with.
Because you know, we saw what happened with Jed Spence, and obviously you don't want that to happen to Brennan.
No.
But all it takes is for him to not click on, and off he goes. You know, we are obviously getting a lot of money for him, and it's money you really cannot turn down at this point in time.
Absolutely, agreed.
I mean, it's like you said earlier, it's all profit off Brennan.
Yeah,
because you haven't bought him for anything. It's come through the academy, so it's very sad because, you know, for me, he's always someone that I've looked towards to goals and to assists and to just bring the spark. I mean, against Burnley, he came on and it was different immediately.
It was. Absolutely was, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
agree.
we were unfortunate not to get anything. I feel like against Burnley, Cooper was not happy at all against Burnley.
No.
I mean, I think someone said he was halfway down the tunnel before half time.
I can believe it. Yeah, it was.
Vlachodimos is here.
Okay,
right.
That's good. Good to hear. You've got the updates. Let's have a look.
Yeah, what I like is I like looking at the Forest website when they're announced on there, because then it's a fact rather than a Romano or a Percy or an Ornstein rumour. However valid these guys are as journalists, But I think the thing with the Brennan thing, like Wood says, he's like, every time he got the ball, my bum got off the seat. It was like, go on, Bren. For Forest, I think from a business point of view, I think it's a good move for Forest, because it protects us in FFP. We do not want to get into that which happened down the road, or has happened to Reading, or might yet happen to Everton. We don't want to be in that realm at all. I mean, there are rumours that we've not been paying players, and we've not been, but they're all in the right-wing press. So I wouldn't bother with any of that nonsense. Who trusts the Daily Mail these days? Nobody reads the newspaper these days. So I think from a business point of view, that amount of money, like Wood says, you just can't turn it down, really. The problem with Brennan for us is the emotional connection is being broken, because if you're a Forest fan these last 2 or 3 years, how could you not fall in love with him? He's charismatic, he's fast, he's like an exciting player, he's a direct runner, he's got some attitude. I love him. He's my favourite player, and it's going to be really hard for me, when Tottenham come in December, or we go to Tottenham in, I think, April, maybe seeing him in their kit. It's going to be really difficult, but I'm pretty sure he'll be guaranteed a really good welcome when he comes back, like Kashi gets, like Sam Surridge will get if he ever comes back, or, any of these others, like, Jordan Gabriel came back with Blackpool. I see he got a great reception. Yeah. Jack Hobbs came back. He got a good reception. You know what I mean? So I think, Brennan going, I mean, he won't be the last, because at some point we'll lose. At some point we'll lose Taiwo. I'm sure of it. At some point Morgan will be snaffled, I'm sure, by one of the true big guns, because at some point soon Morgan is going to become an England international. It's that emotional thing. I feel my view is, like, when I watch Brennan Johnson, I love all of our lads. I think they're really decent people, the vast majority. I'm sure that, there's a bad apple in there somewhere, somebody you wouldn't like if you met him. But I think our lads are really good ambassadors for our club, right? And so when I see Brennan, or I see Yatesy, or I see Joe, those three in particular, because they're local boys, if you like, I treat them as me nephews. And so for me nephew to go and, if you like, join another family, it's really difficult. But at the same time, I detach myself from that. And what I see, it's like if you two young lads wanted to go off and do something, I just want the very best for you in your lives as individuals. And when I see Brennan Johnson, if I met Brennan, I'd say to him, mate, I wish you all the very best. I just want you to have the best life you can have. Be happy and successful in your life. Because that's what I'd wish somebody. Totally. That's what I want somebody to wish for me. So while he's gonna. I mean, it's like, I tell you what, it's like Tyrese Forner left to go down the road, and there was all this stuff. Oh, he's a snake. He's this, that, and I'm like, let the lad be. So he's gone out. I mean, Tyrese. Unfortunately for Tyrese, he's one of those lads in our club, like your Finbacks and your Riley Harbottles and your Will Swans, and maybe Alex Mighton. These lads were going to be first team players had we stayed in the Championship, probably. But Forest have shot away from them. And I mean, for Tyrese, Derby would probably have offered him good money. Is he going to turn that down for his own benefit and his own family and all that? No, he's not. What he should turn, an offer comes, no, you can't turn it down because it's Derby County. Now, I don't get it. But then maybe I'm too old for all of that. But I just, I see Tyrese Forner's going to Derby. I hope he does all right. I saw people say, no, I hope he has a bad time. I hope things go wrong for him. Like, what kind of people are you? I wouldn't want you as
I
mate.
agree with that. Yeah.
You know, it's like when I mean, Riley Harbottle's gone to Hibernian, and now I look at Hibernian's lineups to see if Riley's playing. I look at Mansfield to see if Will Swan's playing. I look at Carlisle to see if Finn Back's getting a game.
Yeah.
Ollie Hammond at Cheltenham.
Yeah.
You know, they're all our family, and you want the best for them. Do you know what I mean? So with Brennan, I just hope what I want Brennan to tear it up for Wales, and if he's going to tear it up for Tottenham against everybody bar us, right? I'd almost like Brennan to say to Ange, it's Forest away in December the 23rd or 20th, 15th, whatever. Ange, can I sit this one out? Yeah, mate, go and sit it out. You know what I mean? It's not Ange's like. I love Ange. I think Ange is brilliant. You know, what I love is that most. Do you know what I love? I love the fact that most of the Tottenham fans didn't want him because he's Celtic, so he's not good enough. You know, we don't want a guy from Nottingham Forest because he's not good enough. And they are the most ridiculous fan base. You know, Manchester United is just apathetic, but Tottenham are just like, oh, you're still a Champions League team, are you? Get real. You know what I mean? I'd have loved it actually if Ange Postecoglou had said, nah, not going to Tottenham. Below me. And if Brennan said, no, I'm not going to Tottenham, I want to go to, you know, say Brennan had chosen Chelsea instead, you know what I mean? But now let's just wish these lads all the best in whatever they do in their careers. You know, can't be carrying all that nastiness around with me. You know what I mean?
I agree. I think it's, as you say, with emotion. It's honestly, it's the thing that I think hurts the most in Brennan is the fact that he is that academy guy. It's not just it'd be bad when Morgan and that was to move on, or when
I agree, David.
When you lose. You know, Jed Spence, like he wasn't one of ours, but we all love Jed and Jimmy Garner and Keenan Davis. All them lads from that promotion year are special to us, I think. But even Guy Tangbong, let's just say he was.
But he put the cross in at Derby for Brennan to score that goal that got us our first point that year. I remember after that game sitting on Derby Station waiting to catch a train home because it's near for me to get there. I'm thinking, oh, thank God we got something. Because at one point, we were being outplayed by Derby. Tom Lawrence scored. We were being outplayed by Derby. We could have had no points from the first 7 or 8. We could have been going to Huddersfield that day on 0 points, let alone the one that we got at Derby. Because we got the point against Derby. Then we went off for an international break. And then we lost 2-1 to Cardiff on a Sunday afternoon. Cardiff typically bullied us because Flint and Co were bigger than us. And then we lost in that truly appalling match against Middlesbrough. You know, if Ethan Horvath never does anything again for this club, that night he miscontrolled that pass from Loic Mbissoe to see Houghton out the door. Thank you ever so much, Ethan. Honestly, almost like he did it. You know, Ethan Horvath did that, and then he took the goal kick at Wembley, where we knew we were home and dry. Do you remember when Ethan took that goal kick, lads? And he took
he did in that game, isn't it? He came off for a goal kick.
Yeah, he went retreat. Brees had to come off. Ethan went and retrieved the ball from behind the goal, and John Moss was looking at his watch. He looked at his watch more than he should have looked at that penalty of Max Lowe, which was a penalty, right? And then Ethan took the goal kick, and he knew as soon as it left his boot, you know, a bit like actually Wayne Hennessy against Arsenal, when it left his boot at the end of that game, you knew we're home and dry against Arsenal, we're safe. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's a while ago, isn't it? I mean, and that's the thing. The Forest of now is completely different to the Forest of then. You know what I mean? So, oh look, what a great picture of Woods.
That's an interesting face.
That is a scary photo.
I wasn't expecting. No, I'm not going to lie.
He's gone for a brew, I reckon.
I think he has. We'll probably be back in a moment.
Yeah.
Just to finish on Brennan, I just find it was pretty sad seeing that announcement that he was going to go.
Yeah,
but I agree with what you're saying. You know, we wish him all the best, really, because he's been a fantastic servant to us, and it will be very strange seeing him come back.
It's not like it was a surprise, David. I think all of us were resigned to the fact. I certainly have been resigned to the fact that he was not going to stay. You know, so it's just life. It moves on. You know, it's like we go through school and then, you know, we leave school and we go on to a job or we go on to university, and the friends you had in school, then, you know, you then get other friends and you move on, and it's just part of life, really, because change is happening all the time. I mean, you know, we might change the world by winning at Chelsea tomorrow. You know what I mean? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I tell you what, though, we've got a good song coming in the is this the
Murillo.
way to our Murillo?
Yeah,
In
that's gonna
midfield
be
with
cool.
Felipe and Danilo. You know what I mean? Murillo, he look. I've watched his highlight reel. He looks a proper lad. He does. I like
He
that.
does. Yeah.
Come on, you Reds! It's brilliant. I
I
love
found
these
that very
videos.
funny. Yeah, he was like he was rapping, wasn't he? And he just suddenly
Yeah,
just
it
said,
was.
"Come on, you Reds!" at the end.
Well, I can't do Brazilian. He was giving it Copacabana, rhubarb. Come on, you Reds! Fantastic. I love it.
Tell you what, just to finish off, I think we know who our best signing will be if it happens, and that's probably Sangare. So
yeah.
let's
He's not through the door yet, David.
I've not seen it yet. Let's just pick like our top 3 signings in the window, like
Right.
if they were all to happen. So
Yeah.
Woods, what do you think to that? Who would you say like would be your top 3 best signings for Forest this window?
Well, obviously, number one, if it does happen, Sangare.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Probably Elanga.
Okay, fair enough.
3, it's between Murillo and Turner. Just based on what I've seen of Murillo, he looked like, I think he's only 5'11", but yeah, he's still out jumping, out muscling, out pacing people.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Those are good choices, Woods.
It's a good list, that.
It's an excellent list.
Have you got anything,
now
Dave?
I've got right. Well, I'm not going to say Sangare, because if I say Sangare, then I'm being hypocritical about my view about the rumour mongers. It's not on the Forest website yet, right? So I'm going to be a bit of an arse about that. Forgive me. My 3 are in no particular order, but Montiel is a fantastic signing, given what he's done. That lad won a World Cup final, and at the second attempt, he won a Europa League final. Right? He's got proper attitude, and in patches on Wednesday night, he showed you what a good player is. He's made excellent covering back, I think, him. So I like Montiel. I didn't think we'd ever get a guy like that, a World Cup winner coming to Forest. We've got a World Cup winning manager, but a proper World Cup. The man that won the World Cup coming to us. It's just astonishing, right? So I'm going to say Montiel. I've got to say Matt Turner. I think he's already proved his worth, Matt. He has. I think he's a really good guy to have about. There's something businesslike and disciplined and driven about Matt Turner. And then, I like Murillo. I think Callum could be a good one. I'd like to get Origi and Dominguez, but I've got to agree with Woods. Ola Aina is a good one as well. But I think so. Montiel, Matt Turner, and I've got to say Anthony Elanga, because Anthony Elanga, I think what happened, what the impression I get is that they knew from a long way out before today that Brennan was likely to leave. And I think they identified in a Brighton way, in a Brentford way, they did succession planning, as they call it in business. We're going to lose our prized asset, or one of our most prized assets. We need to have a plan B. I mean, Fulham fans, for example, Fulham fans must be going, if they'd lost the best midfielder in the country, Palhinha, or one of the best midfielders, they'd have had 2 hours to get somebody to replace the almost irreplaceable. I've got really good friends who are Fulham fans, and I'm so relieved for them that they're not losing him. Mitrovic, they could get by without him. He didn't want to be there. His attitude stank, so he's gone. But João Palhinha is everything. I think losing Brennan isn't as big a blow for us as losing Palhinha would be to Craven Cottage, right? I think he's that good. So what Forest did, they kind of thought, well, we've got Anthony Elanga in the building now, and Anthony's shown at Arsenal what he can do, and in other bursts, and Anthony now hopefully will get better because he'll get more game time. But they had him, they said, right, let's get him in. We kind of know we're going to lose Brennan, and we can deal with the Brennan situation knowing that we've got Anthony in the building. And I think, from that point of view, I think Anthony is a really good signing. So my three are Montiel, Turner, and Anthony Elanga, but there aren't any of the others that I mean, whatever we think last year, the Jesse Lingard one, whether you were like, or you were like, it was still a head scratcher. Like, where's that come from? I don't think there's anything like that this time around. So there's an hour and a quarter, an hour and 16 minutes. You know what I mean? So we'll see what goes on. But no, there we are.
No, I think that's a good list. Honestly, I think I agree with the Turner shout. He's obviously a vital part of the team.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how the Greek guy is going to affect him. Is he going to? I think it's a real competition there. Who's going to be number one?
Yeah.
But I think Turner's made a huge claim to keep that number one spot for sure.
Sure.
Based off, he was one of the better players against Burnley. There weren't many, but Montiel and just his stature, I think he's going to be up there as well.
Yeah.
Murillo could definitely be in here, Elanga and Hudson-Odoi. And I agree with what you're saying. Like, there's no one really, like, in terms of quality that you look at and think, well, why have we signed him? Like, they're all.
Maybe Tavares, David. But in that game, the Arsenal people were saying in that cup match, he was played out of position. They'd say he's more of a wing back. He's more. I tell you what, he's more like Nico than he is like Serge or Ola or somebody like Tendai Darikwa was when he was here. He's not an orthodox. Or Montiel's more of an orthodox right back. You know what I mean? So
what I think my main point is really is that they all make sense. Whereas, like last year, we were signing a few players that didn't really make sense. Like, even though I think they did actually both look quite good in pre-season, there was not really any need for us to sign Josh Bowler or Hwang just to loan them out. Like, it wasn't really a need. And it kind of bought, like, everyone was saying we signed 30 players, but like 4 of them got loaned out straight away. And obviously someone like Brandon Aguilera has come back and he's looked like a really good young player. But all of them make sense.
I tell you, I don't know what you two lads think, but he's actually impressed on the quiet. And I think the coaching staff at Forest like him. He got some minutes the other night. Yeah. I don't know what age is he? Is he under 21?
Yeah, I think he's 19, something like that.
So he won't be part of the 25. Like, who else won't be part of the 25? Is Danilo under 21?
I think he is, yeah.
If you remember last year, Morgan and Brennan didn't count as part of 25 because they were below the age. And I think that applies to Danilo, and it will apply to, oh God, what was his name?
Someone else, isn't there?
Oh, Brandon Aguilera. So I think Brandon Aguilera is. It's like Wang. It was a bit of a joke. Oh, he'll never play for Forest. And he's coming. He's not been too bad. I just don't think he's up to like you said, Dave. He's not up to the level required. But he can go off and get a nice loan somewhere. I think we need to get some of the guys. What is Alex Mighton going to do?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I put a team graphic up actually, so we can have a look at the whole squad. I've got this here. I don't know if everyone can see this properly or not, but I'll just zoom in a little bit.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
But it just like gives a better idea about what's happening, really. But look at all the names under every single position. Like, obviously midfield, we're going to have Sangare probably in there. And then obviously up front, probably going to have Origi. We're going to have Omobamidele in there too, and the I just call him the Greek lad in goal. But you can probably add like another 4 names to that. It's not even finished.
In a way, being knocked out of the Carabao, I think in a way it's good because it eases the fixture congestion. We're only going to be playing one competition until January. But in a way, at the same time, it would have been a really good opportunity to give, the whole squad, some of those that are not going to feature in league games so much, some game time. I guess with Alex Mighton, he looks like he's becoming a serious piece of work for the under-21s. I mean, they beat Arsenal the other night. He scored. I think he scored in 3 games running. So I think Alex is probably going to play some game time in the 21s. And weirdly enough, I wasn't going to, but I'm going to Harrogate now to watch the 21s on Tuesday night because the bloke's offered me a lift. And maybe Forest under-21s, I think, we can have a good run in that. It's Harrogate, Accrington and Carlisle. Okay. Do you know what I mean? So,
yeah.
And that's a great point by Too Many Phils. David, your graphics tonight have been absolute top draw, mate. There's some like real art knowledge gone into that, mate. Some real masterpieces there, mate.
I just like to be unique, really, and creative. I've got.
They're brilliant, mate.
You see all my transfer videos. They should use all of these.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with what you're saying, really. We've got some unreal depth in there, and like I say, that map right there isn't even finished. Like, there's still like 4 more players that we can add to it, which is just bizarre. And it's literally deadline day. Like, it closes in like 2 hours, so it's just less than 2 hours. It's like we've left it right to the very last minute. But I don't think it is panic buying so much. Like, I think George Sounos coming in, I think coming in late has kind of played a part in it happening at the last minute. And I think we've just really planned it out and considered the injuries and what the squad depth required to do well in this division. We've seen if you just lose a couple of key players, like last season we were down to like 2 centre backs against Man City, and we managed to get a draw out of it. But this year, we've got like 6 players there, plus potentially Omobamidele that can come in as well. Like, it probably shouldn't happen.
2 points, David. The one you've just made is a brilliant one. There's been no panic buying, which has been an absolute joy to see that. And it's a squad game, mate. I mean, the number of substitutions you can make now, so, I mean, if we could just get this window finished. I mean, to be honest with you, I should be glad when this window's over, because I just want to talk about games of football rather than business deals and money moving and all that kind of stuff. So,
just to mention, Johnson's
still
on here because he's not actually left yet.
No, he's still technically a Forest player. It's not on the website. By the way, it's Luton 0, West Ham 1.
Oh, right, okay. That's not really
Jared Bowen has put West Ham in front at Luton.
Yeah.
So
not only with Johnson still being here, but Hwang's probably going to be going as well, and Emmanuel Dennis potentially. So it's
I mean, there's another one.
Yet. It's not done at all. That's just what it is currently. I just thought I sometimes have that in my videos, so I just thought I'd show it here, just to give you an idea. Well, it's 2-0 to West Ham now, actually.
Is it? Who's got the second goal?
Not sure. Someone's just put it in the comments here.
Right.
So obviously, a game Forest will be needing to win, ideally against Luton. Be an interesting one. But just before we go, we can mention briefly tomorrow. It's going to be a tough game, of course. So, I mean, how do you see it going, Woods? What do you think, mate?
Well, Chelsea are playing really well at the moment. I mean, they've got some real good players. I mean, Enzo Fernandez, he's done really well over the last couple of games. They've got Caicedo in. They paid £110 million for Moises Caicedo, which I think it's a lot. It's obviously a lot of money, but it's their money. They've spent over £1 billion in the last 2 transfer windows, something like that.
Yeah.
So
Luton's good.
Yeah,
go on, Woods.
I think it is obviously going to be difficult. You need to take out their most vital players. Try and keep Sterling out of the game, because you know how he loves to score against us. 3 and 2 games against us last season. Try and keep him out of the game, but then they've got that Nicholas Jackson as well, who's done quite well. They are missing a few vital players as well. They've got Reece James out, injured. But they've also got Levi Colwill.
Yeah. They've got some great young players in there. I think Chelsea have kind of done the opposite of us, and they have kind of thrown money at it, and definitely last season panicked by it a little bit, whereas everyone can kind of have their say on Todd Bowley, what he's doing there. But everyone's really compared us in Chelsea to spending a lot of money on lots of different players, but I think it is 2 very, very different things. It's just Chelsea having a big, rich owner just throwing money at it. Not too much of a system, seemingly, whereas Forest, last season, it was needs must, really, and this season it's just trying to progress even more, really.
I think the thing about Forest is they are shopping in the right supermarket. Chelsea shop at Harrods. We have to shop at we're like Tesco or like Aldi or something like that, and you know, you can find some real good stuff. You know, admittedly, it wouldn't be little, because you won't want Forest going up and then buying a scuba diving outfit and a load of toolkits from the middle aisle, would you? You know what I mean? But you know, the thing about tomorrow is, I would rather play Chelsea at this point of the season than say November, December, or January, where Poch has worked out which of the pieces to fit together. I mean, the personnel Chelsea have got, it's a fantastic array of talent. Cole Palmer, you know, Moises Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez. They've still got the great Thiago Silva at the back. What a player he is. Wonderful player for his age. You know, Ben Chilwell is a quality footballer. They've got good players. Nicholas Jackson looks good. Raheem's their best player at the moment. And if you think back to last year, when I don't think we'll ever have a better chance of winning at Stamford Bridge than we did in or May. Take Raheem out of that game, we win it easy. You know, he was that good that he scored 2 cracking goals. We were the better side for most of that game. He scored 2 goals, you know, so it's very, I think we'll lose 2-1 tomorrow. I think we'll put up a good show, and I think we'll discomfort Chelsea to a certain extent. But I just think they have that extra level of quality that we don't have yet. I tell you what, though, if I'm wrong, what a win that would be. That would be something else. And I tell you something, what I do believe is that we'll go somewhere, not that, maybe tomorrow, certainly not the one after that. We're not going to win that one. We just go, we take our medicine, and then think, right, we've got that out of the way, and it's somebody else's turn the week after to play City. Rob. City are just the brothers from another planet. The best team, one of those truly great teams. When they look back over history, that Manchester City team that won a treble, going to be one of the greatest teams of all time, right? But we held that greatest team of all, one great team of all time to 1-1, and we scored a goal against them that's one of the greatest goals this planet's ever seen. How it wasn't the goal of the season, I do know, because Match of the Day and the media don't rate us. They don't want to talk about us. We scored, you know, all 11 had a touch, including Andre Ayew and Harry Toffolo, right? People like that. 19 passes, and the greatest team on earth were made to look like kids who'd never played the game before. They were all looking around like lost and like, where's me dummy? Well, Forest murdered. Remember what Morgan and Brennan did to first Bernardo Silva and then Ruben Diaz. Ruben Diaz fell over because he was that terrified of Morgan and Brennan. That was an unbelievable goal that Forest scored, right? So, but what I think is we're going to win away from home. I think we'll win a few games away from home. I actually think we may find it harder at home this year, but easier away. What worries me at home is that people take the home form for granted. Like the other night, it was a bit flat, and I'm worried that it's going to be a bit flat. And the Forest or Magic thing that we saw in the semi-final against Sheffield United that got us to Wembley, and which helped, the unbelievable atmosphere that everybody else in the country was talking about at City Ground. I'm a bit worried we might going to lose that. People will be saying, "Oh, where's your famous atmosphere?" and all that. You know what I mean? So I do think I think we'll pick up some points on the road, but tomorrow, no, just it's a shame that Chelsea was still in a state of flux and our side was settled, months ago. They're not fancy us, but that's the unfortunate part about the window going out, into the start of the season. I mean, like last year, we started at Newcastle, we beat West Ham. We weren't anything like. What's going on there, Dave?
I'm trying to figure out how my camera's done that. You carry on, Dave.
Yeah, I thought he was like giving me the finger there.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to get it in focus. Don't know why it does this. You carry on.
I can see that fingerprint really clearly now, right?
There we go. It's in focus. I don't know why it does that.
But if you think last year we beat West Ham, but we kind of muddled our way through it, and then Morgan came. So our best player from last season, which was in my view was Morgan, we didn't get him. So I don't think with any of these teams in the Premier League you'll see the real identities till about maybe the latter end of October, something like even City have got better new players in. Liverpool, Arsenal, they're all at it. They're all in a state of flux. Luton have signed a lot of players. Blades have now been signing players. Even Everton have decided they're going to sign somebody. So it's everything's up in the air at the moment. You know what I mean? So, but I don't think we'll win. I think we'll get beat 2-1 tomorrow.
Yeah. You got any score predictions, Woods, for tomorrow?
I don't normally do score predictions. Last one I did with Cardiff at home, and I said we beat them 2-1. So.
Oh, is that the game that I think you're talking about?
Yeah.
and Nicholas, yeah, I won't tell his full name. It's disrespectful. Yeah, I think that's probably about concluded what we could talk about. I mean, just to mention one thing, I'll flash this graphic up again. This guy's apparently at our training ground now, doing a medical, so that's probably going to be happening very soon, or hopefully, but it has to be done before 11 o'clock, of course. As you mentioned, Origi should be happening. Omobamidele, I've not even got a graphic for him. It's that new. Isn't it the case? It always happens every deadline day. There's always someone that signs.
It's a moving feast, David, isn't it? It's a constantly ever-changing situation, mate.
There's always someone that signs out of the blue. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. The thing is that as long as you get the paperwork done before 11, it is done. Yeah, but I don't see 4 players being announced in the next hour. But,
no,
we'll see. It's been great doing this. I don't stream very often, really. So I do it every deadline day, actually. I've done it the last few deadline days. So I'll do it again in January at the very least. So look forward to that. Way off. But thank you very much, Dave, for coming on.
Pleasure, mate. Great to talk to you two, lads. I was only going to come on for 10 minutes, and I've enjoyed talking to you so much. I mean, my plan was I've got to do the washing up. I was going to watch the cricket. I was going to watch a bit of Luton West Ham. And then I was going to go to bed. I'm a night owl. I don't normally go to bed until about 1 o'clock. So I'm always reading or watching something on YouTube or whatever. And I was going to get to bed early because I'm getting picked up. I've got to get up here where I am because I'm an hour from the city ground. I've got to get up at half 6 in the morning, have a bit of breakfast, set off at 7:30 to get picked up at the city ground at around about 9 o'clock. But I thought I went on one show before. I was on that longer than I thought I'd be. And then I thought I can't let Rads down. And it's been lovely to talk to you, and great to talk to you, Woods, mate. Enjoyed it. So thanks for having me on, lads.
Yeah.
Proper clash of the generations. Old fart like me, 2 young guns like you two. You know what I mean?
Nice. I think I may try and do a few more streams because it is enjoyable doing these.
Bless you, mate.
So
get your dad. Get your dad on as well next time, mate. Get Big Steve on.
He's been on before. He'll definitely be on in the future. So yeah, if you two ever want to come on streams again, just let me know. Or I'll probably let you know or whatever if I'm doing one.
Yeah. I'd love to.
Because it does offer something a bit different to a video, I suppose. Interacting with everyone live. Well, it promised to be a hectic deadline day, and it is, and it still hasn't finished. So we'll just see what happens with Forest. He's never done with us. But thanks everyone for watching. Please hit the like button, subscribe to Rads, and yes. Come on, you Reds.
You Reds.
Are we finished? Not finished yet. End broadcast.
You want me to say you Reds? You Reds.
Is this the way to our Murillo?
No idea. I think we're still alive somehow. It will end eventually.
It'll be all right on the night. Take 3. Woods is finishing off that vodka now. Look.
Yeah.
Getting ready for tomorrow. It still hasn't stopped. Is anyone still in the chat? I don't even know what's going on at this stage.
I don't know, mate. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to scoot off, lads. Anyway, listen, I've really enjoyed talking to both of you. All right.
Yeah, it's been great doing this.
It's been fun.
Brilliant. Take care, boys, and I'll see you soon. All right.
Yeah. Cheers, Dave. Thank you.
Cheers, mate. Bye.
Then it was 2.
It's still live, so just keep talking normally.
So let's just talk about this. Omobamidele.
Mm-hmm.
Someone said in the chat.